Hello and good afternoon, everyone. It's Stacey from A2K. And thanks for joining us for today's webinar, What's New in AutoCAD 2022. Applications Engineer John Future will be presenting for us today. So before we start, we'll just go through about A2K. We're all about fostering innovation through consulting and training. A2K Technologies plays a vital role in helping infrastructure, building, mining, construction, architecture, and manufacturing industries reach their full potential by delivering great technology solutions and support services such as education and consulting. We're working with visionaries to shape the future of design and in turn enable them through innovation to minimize risks, improve productivity and achieve excellence. A2K Technologies is considered the business partner of choice and trusted advisor by vendors and clients. We partner with major software and hardware vendors to meet our clients' technology needs. We strive to exceed client expectations by pinpointing their challenges and delivering solutions for experience and innovation. We work with clients and companies of any size nationally and abroad. Over to you, John.
Thanks, Dexter. And just a quick sound check there. You can hear me okay?
Yep, all perfect.
Very good. And welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us today for this particular webinar. It's great to be with you and look forward to presenting some of the new features of the AutoCAD 2022 release. As Dexter said, I work for A2K in a technical space. My background is in manufacturing. I'm based out of A2K's Adelaide office in Australia, and yeah, it's great to be able to spend a few minutes today talking with you about some of the new features that are available to us in the AutoCAD 2022 version. My background, as I said, is in engineering. I've spent most of my life in the mechanical space and spent quite a bit of time in the CNC world, so computer numeric control. Did some work in pneumatics and hydraulics also, and just general engineering. But for the past 14 or so years, I've been connected directly with the Autodesk line of product. So I train AutoCAD inventor, and more recently, I've been a bit focused on the aspects of additive manufacturing and 3D printing. Yeah, there's some great tools. So it's great to be able to work with you today and present for you the aspects of AutoCAD 2022. So basically, there's been some fairly big improvements, and the 2022 version is packed with a bunch of options. And as a subscriber to the Autodesk suite of products, you get access to software that's trusted by millions of people around the globe, and specifically the industry tool sets, which we'll just spend a couple of minutes on. Whilst I know they're not specifically new to the 2022 version, I will just quickly cover a couple of elements about that. And we'll be talking quite a bit today about the AutoCAD web and mobile apps as well, for those of you that may not have been exposed to some of those items. Well, before we dive into the actual software and look at the new features, one of the big improvements as far as CAD managers and IT teams are concerned is the improved installation functionality or experience with the 2022 version. For those of you that are tasked with building deployments, deployment images, that can now be done directly inside the Autodesk app. So that's quite a neat little feature that we can do directly from within your Autodesk account. So of course that will help perhaps anybody that's doing an installation, and certainly being able to build those within the desktop app is quite a helpful thing. So I've broken sort of today's presentation up into three sections. We're going to first up look at some of the statistics on CAD automations, and particularly, I guess, as I said before, orientated around the tool sets and how they can perhaps speed up work for us and help us animating different tasks, so we can focus, I guess, a bit more on what's important to us. So like I said, even though they're not specifically new to 2022, I believe there's many options for AutoCAD users to benefit from the tool sets specifically, and from some of those overlays and add-ons that are available for the AutoCAD space. Second, I'd like to talk briefly about the AutoCAD web and mobile apps. As I said, there's a lot more connectivity now and digitalization of models, obviously, as we work with a somewhat disconnected physically world, but certainly being able to connect electronically is a massive benefit for all stakeholders, and Autodesk have certainly answered that call by providing a really good bunch of tools for working with online systems, and particularly many of those other aspects of that. And lastly, we'll look at the continuous innovations within the AutoCAD 2022 release, and hopefully some little tips and tricks that might be able to help you improve your workflows as you work with those particular tools. So first up, we're going to talk about the automation side of things. So just quickly with regard to the tool sets, and specifically in today's world, it's more important than ever to work smarter and faster. Certainly your competition will be doing so, and with the AutoCAD 2022 subscription, as I mentioned, you gain access to 7 specialised tool sets, which are industry specific, and certainly give us the ability to work faster and be more efficient across many disciplines within the AutoCAD space. And I guess really it's about having the right tool to get the job done. So yeah, some really nice options available to us within the tool set. So if you've got a subscription to AutoCAD Full version, or the AutoCAD Full seat, you will have access to all 7 of these tool sets, not just what we used to call AutoCAD Vanilla. And look, just like to highlight some of the benefits and efficiencies that we can get from using those particular tool sets. So the tool sets have hundreds of thousands of independent and intelligent parts and symbols and features within each of the packages. Basically, they automate the creation of annotations, layers, and properties. They automate tasks like generating bill of materials to help speed up our workflows. So we can take advantage of the tool sets while working within the familiar AutoCAD interface. And let's face it, it's one of those packages that's been around for many years, and I don't think we'll see any change to that in the next number of years. So basically just a couple of little stats on some of the improvements, particularly with regard to a couple of the tool sets. So with regard, for instance, to the mechanical tool set, again, using the software should basically increase your productivity. Once you're proficient, obviously, with AutoCAD Mechanical, you should be able to improve your productivity by around 50%. So some really good tools for a whole bunch of aspects of standard CAD and engineering tasks have been automated within the Autodesk Mechanical or AutoCAD Mechanical interface. Things like layer management systems, a lot of those other items for getting things in the correct line types and colors and all that standard sort of CAD information and standard CAD functionality. So we can certainly improve and increase our productivity by making use as well of the 700,000 intelligent manufacturing parts, features, and symbols within the mechanical tool set. So many different options there for bearings and different things that we've got available to us for working in mechanical systems. With regards to the electrical tool set, again, many options for automating a lot of the functionality, and certainly working, initially with the architectural tool set, we can use our 3D model to generate elevations, section views, without the need for projecting lines or floor plans, etc. So we can save a lot of time in working with the AutoCAD architecture toolset. And again, gives you around about 8,500 intelligent architectural objects that are specific to the architectural space. So again, quite a good bunch of tools that are available to us. So the electrical tools, again, tailored specifically for electrical systems and for people working with that. So creating ladder diagrams and all those sort of electrical elements. Again, saving massive amounts of time and allowing us to be more productive. Generating bill of materials can be done automatically. So a lot of really good functionality available to us there. So yeah, again, 65,000 intelligent electrical symbols. So many bonus tools available to us by using the electrical tool set available within the AutoCAD system. And the last of these I really want to just touch on is the MEP toolset for people that are doing HVAC and ducting type work. Again, we've got a massive library of 10,500 mechanical, electrical and plumbing objects that will save you time and make you more efficient and proficient with items of plumbing nature and even electrical conduits and things like that. We can certainly use those in the MEP space, and again, working with the ever familiar AutoCAD interface with the typical ribbon and all of your typical options. But certainly, I'd really encourage you, those of you that have got the AutoCAD 2022 subscription package, to look further into the tool sets. I can guarantee you'll become more productive and proficient as you explore some of those areas of the AutoCAD tools. Okay, what I'd like to do now is move into the connectivity side of AutoCAD's offering and some of the options that are particularly, and look, some of these options have been around for a little while, and Autodesk have made some fairly big leaps in the last 5 years with regard to how they work with a lot of these particular tools, and certainly with the challenges of our current COVID situation and working from home or a remote office, or working in a slightly detached scenario. Being able to share data sets has become very, very important to many of us as we work. And Autodesk have really put in quite a lot of effort in this space to allow us not only to connect to the net, but also for working with AutoCAD 360, which is the web application for AutoCAD, where we can link into a lot of our existing designs. So both AutoCAD and AutoCAD LT subscriptions include the AutoCAD web and mobile apps. So they provide quick access to CAD drawings on any device effectively. So those Autodesk apps can make it possible to continue to design and draft with the most up-to-date files while you're in the field, if you're at home, and even wherever you happen to be as part of your general daily workflow. So whether we use AutoCAD on a Windows platform, on a Mac platform, or on a web platform, really any device. So we can use that on an iPad, an iPhone, or an Android device. Autodesk have the right AutoCAD for you. And so we can enjoy a cohesive experience across various platforms and connect to your DWG files wherever you are. So let's take a slightly closer look at some of these apps. The newest addition to the AutoCAD family of products is the AutoCAD Web App, as I said, and it gives us the ability to quickly create and edit the latest drawings on any device. So we can mark up and share DWGs directly within the app. It's basically AutoCAD in the cloud, and it's now available in the same language, same 14 languages as AutoCAD. So we've got multi-language AutoCAD Web App now available. So we can also upload drawing templates, plot styles, and other support files to create DWGs that's better to meet our company standards as well. So the web app just runs in a browser with no local software installed as such. So no pressure on your system in that sense. We can simply go to web.autocad.com, sign in and start working. So really handy little tool. I'd encourage you, if you haven't had a look at this, it's a little bit hard to demonstrate when we're working in this sort of a webinar, but certainly really, really valuable tool to explore and to look into if that's a requirement, which, let's face it, for most of us, that is. In addition to the web app, AutoCAD mobile app lets us extend our workflows from the office to the job site and everywhere in between. So with the web app, we get core Autodesk desktop tools, as well as mobile-only features that let you add laser measurements to the drawing files and use the AutoCAD commands that we're used to get precise drafting capabilities with the app's advanced touch technology. So quite a number of little benefits there for the mobile app within AutoCAD as well. Okay, also with the AutoCAD web and mobile apps, we can take advantage of seamless connections and work in new ways across multiple platforms. So we can connect to basically any of our files in the cloud. And for those of you that tuned in last year, you might remember that Autodesk announced a partnership with Google Drive, which extended those options further. And further to that, in this year's release, they've added Autodesk Drive and Autodesk Docs connections to the Autodesk Web App. So if you're using Autodesk Docs, you've now got the option to conveniently connect to those files directly from within your Autodesk app. Autodesk Drive is also available with all subscriptions, and obviously it's used for storing many types of files, but specifically 2D drawing files. Autodesk Docs is a cloud-based document management system and a common data environment that is used very widely in the AEC space. So certainly available to us in the AEC collection. And I think you'll find with these integrations, we can take advantage of anytime access to any DWG file within AutoCAD itself. So to summarise that little section of today's presentation, the key benefits of AutoCAD 2022 web and mobile apps include increased mobility through multi-platform workflows, improved collaboration with new workflows and in-app features. So obviously we've also got the ability to connect to DWG files anywhere, anytime, and essential drafting tools with the precision and consistency that we've always expected from the AutoCAD tools. So with AutoCAD, we've obviously got state-of-the-art web and mobile apps wherever we go, and we can have peace of mind that our data will be available to us. Okay, what I'd like to do now is move in and look at some of the new innovative features of the 2022 release, and we'll be diving into the AutoCAD software in a moment and looking at some of these tools by way of demonstration. But just to perhaps explain a couple of the key elements, and certainly the Autodesk system has been improved quite a lot this year with greater tools for our installation process. We've certainly got a number of benefits and, as we mentioned earlier, some new tips and tools for working with online deployments, etc. But as we mentioned, let's have a quick look and jump right in now and have a look at the AutoCAD 2022 interface. So not huge changes to the actual layout of the software as such. You'll notice we've still got the traditional ribbon type arrangement, many of the standard tools. We do have a number of tools that we'll be delving into quite a bit on the Collaborate tab, and I'll certainly be stepping through those with you as we work through. But one of probably the most beneficial options that I'd like to talk about initially is the fact that we can have floating windows. So for those of you that used to run 2 or 3 sessions of AutoCAD for having multiple files open and editable at the same time, we've now got an option just to drag a tab away from our AutoCAD space and place it, for instance, onto a second screen. Okay, so this doesn't require us to fire up another session of AutoCAD. We can work on multiple files within the one installation of AutoCAD. So simply drag the tab that you'd like to have on a second screen, and let's face it, most of us CAD people do have multiple screens. And then once if we want to come back onto the one screen, so you can just drag out a tab from your AutoCAD space and place it onto a second screen, which should result in you not needing to run multiple sessions of AutoCAD if you're working with multiple files. So I'd like to take a look at, so that's probably one of the biggest improvements in my opinion that makes quite a difference to the way we use AutoCAD particularly. Under the Start tab, so the old Getting Started tab here, we've got quite a number of changes, and again, we've got the sort of traditional layout here where we've got recent files. We've seen that change a little bit over the last couple of years. But one little feature that I quite like in this space is these 3 little dots here. If we click on the three little dots, we can open a read-only version of any of our AutoCAD files. So very handy if you're working with colleagues or you know that somebody else is working on a version of a file, we can obviously go and open that file in its read-only state. So that's quite a handy little improvement. Obviously, we've got the little computer icon here that tells us the location of each of our files, so we can see very quickly where those files reside. You do have that same option in this view on the right side over here. We've got the option there to open a read-only version of that particular DWG file. So quite a few little tools there. Autodesk have added actually quite a few things to this getting started page. Down in the bottom left, for instance, we've got options to go to the Autodesk community and to the forum pages, which many of us AutoCAD users tend to frequent. So there's quite a benefit in being able to quickly access that. Obviously, we've also got the options here to link up to our mobile app and our web app. We've got options here for online help. We've got we can go and see what's new as well in AutoCAD here. On the right side, Autodesk have added a new section here for announcements, and we can scroll through here to see some tips and tricks. As you can see, it tells me that I've got a product update available, and certainly in here we've got quite a number of tips and tricks on different things that we might not have considered within the AutoCAD space in the past. Obviously, we've got the standard tools for going and picking up templates, as we've recently had in the middle new drop down here as well. So quite a few little add-ons there to the Autodesk Getting Started tab. Okay, well, as I mentioned, we'll be looking quite a bit at a number of the tools from the Collaborate area. Like I said, this is one area where we can jump in here and have a look at the, like I said, under Collaborate, we've got quite a number of options here that we'll be looking at. One of these is this new trace palette. Now, like I said, a bit hard to demonstrate this on a single device, but effectively, if I had an iPhone or an iPad or an Android device, and if I've added some markups to this particular file, this DWG file in my web app or on one of my other devices, it would show up here as a markup. So I can quickly have a look at the functionality for working with this new trace functionality. So we can, as we said, if you're out on a job site, we can pick up maybe some other dimensions, or maybe there's a change to the boundary of our building block or whatever it might be. We can certainly go and start up this trace palette, which links us to markups that have been done via the web or the mobile app. So quite a handy little tool in regard to the way that might work. So yeah, some fairly neat little tools in regard to that. So yeah, we've talked about floating windows there, as we said. The Trace app, as I mentioned, markups and items that we've done there, we can collaborate quite quickly and quite closely with other team members and people within our organisation, or perhaps a contractor who's based on site. So very handy to be able to share those markup details. Again, on there, I'll just jump back into the software. You'll notice we've got the share option. Now, this is quite a clever little tool as well. It's a bit like, for those of you that have worked in the Inventor space, you might remember we've got the share file or share design option inside of Inventor. In AutoCAD, what we can do here is got a little option up here for share the drawing. Now, what this does, it goes off to the web app and effectively allows me to share a link with a particular person. And as you can see here, we've got the option to include XREFs, which is quite a breakthrough in this system. And also we've got the option there that the link survives for 7 days and then is no longer saved. So quite a handy little tool. Notice as well, we can also give the person view only rights, or we can give them the option to save and edit a copy, which would mean that they would then be able to download a copy of the file themselves. So when we click on preview down here, and I'll quickly do this and just hopefully my bandwidth holds up here. But effectively what this will do is fire up a window that looks like this. So this is opened up in my web browser. And as you can see, so it's just gone to AutoCAD Web. But I've got quite a lot of tools here. We've got, obviously options to turn layers on and off. We can, certainly go in here and turn off different things. So we can make layers active or whatever it might be. We can certainly make changes to our web app file there. It will give us a list of all the blocks that are available inside of that particular file as well. Also, we've got XREF. So if there was an XREF included, it would link that XREF. And as I said, here's the little trace option that we can add markups. And down here, we've got a very simplified version of our AutoCAD draw panel, where we can go in and do a number of different things and work directly with the file based on the cloud version of that particular file. So that's quite a neat little functionality that I think many of you will be able to make use of, and hopefully as we work through, you'll see some benefit with that particular tool. So yeah, we can generate a link and share that directly. So rather than having to go and upload the file and then share the link with somebody else, we can do this from directly inside the AutoCAD software in this current release, or the 2022 release of AutoCAD. Okay, one of the other really clever little tools that's been included in the 2022 release is this new count functionality. So many of us that would be familiar with adding blocks and things like that, basically Autodesk have given that tool a bit of a breath of fresh air. And what we can do, I'll just jump back into my AutoCAD to give you a bit of a rundown on this one. So the AutoCAD count function is quite a clever little tool. There's a palette that's available to us on our view menu up here. You'll notice we've got this option to create or go into the count palette. But what this is actually doing, it's giving me a list of all of the blocks that are used in this particular file. So this particular list, and this is a dynamic list, so this will update if I make a copy of a block. So for instance, let's do that. So I've got this trees imperial. Notice that this has got 15 items. If I was to copy this object and place another one, you'll notice that that number has now changed up. So this is a dynamic list. It does actually retain its space as such, and the quantities there. Now, the other way to get to this, which I quite like, I tend to use the right-click menus fairly frequently. If you select the block and right-click, you've also got the count option here. Okay, so if I was to start up the count command, if you like, this gives me a slightly different functionality, and you can see that for this particular tree, this style of tree, the other 11 or 12 items of these other trees that I've got over this side. But effectively what this does is it tells me that I've got 5 of these trees and I can step through them. So you can imagine if you've got 200 or 300 blocks in a particular window, we can simply step our way through each of those items. Now there's quite a bit going on here, guys, in the sense of we can add, so we can insert a quantity field as well. This little button here allows me just to insert a value, and this just becomes a text item. So you can see it's given me the quantity 5 there. So if I was to double click on this, I would now have the option of adding that this is maybe a maple tree or whatever it might be. It should be a gum tree here in Australia, but effectively we can pop in there any text we would like around that particular count. So because that's a text field, and again, this is a dynamic field. So once again, if I was to add another one, obviously this count would go up with that particular count. Once I'm finished, I can simply pick the tick there to get rid of that. Now that's all well and good, and certainly we can add whatever text we would like there to that count field. Now, one other little aspect of this, and again, I'll jump into this other drawing, which is a little bit more detailed. So you can see here we've got the typical AutoCAD floor plan from the tutorial files, but effectively, if I was to select this PC, for instance, I can right-click, start my count option, and it tells me it's got 54 computers. Okay, and again, I can step through each of those if I wanted to see where they all appeared in my AutoCAD space. But one other little tool that we can use from the count panel or the count palette is that in here, so here's a list of all the blocks that are included in this particular item. Notice a couple of these blocks have actually got a little exclamation mark. I might come back to that one in a moment. I'll explain what that does in a moment. But what I want to really talk about here is this little button at the top left of your count options allows us to select here and then create a table based on whichever of the blocks we would like to include in the table. So let's say I just want a table with all of the furniture. So if I was to go in here and create a table of all the chairs, desks, and sofas, and if I was to pick insert now, AutoCAD would create a table for me that not only tells me I've got these items, but here's the quantities for each of those items. And as you can see, again, a dynamic field. So if I was to add 5 other chairs, obviously this value would go up to 71. Okay, so that is a dynamic table. Now, we could have done that previously, but it would have taken you a couple of minutes to create the table, go and create the link to the block count, and work through there. So that's quite a quick little way of using the AutoCAD count field. Again, some of you have probably used the vcount command in the past, and that works great. But like I said, this has just got that extra functionality where we can see those new count features. So I'm just going to close this down, and what I'll do is actually I'll jump back into that other file I had open earlier, so our little landscape file here. Now, if I was to explode one of these blocks, so if we were to simply come in here and explode a block, that particular block, so I've just exploded that particular block out. If I come back now and turn on my count, you'll notice in here I've got, yeah, like I said, a couple of these little exclamation marks. And if you were to select on the exclamation mark, it'll actually tell you what the challenge is. So in this particular instance, I've selected on my trees, and it's telling me here that I've got an exploded block. Okay, so it tells me that I've got 15 trees, and in fact, one of them has been exploded. Okay, and we can see a bit of a report down there of that as well. Now, if I jump back to the list, I've got another error here with the north pointing arrow. And this is quite a common one. Who hasn't seen a drawing where we've got a block over the top of a block? So this particular instance will tell me that I've actually got a duplicate. So you'll see here that we've got a count error. In actual fact, I've got 2 north arrow blocks sitting directly over the top of each other. So AutoCAD will just throw you up a little error to say, be aware that you've actually got an overlapping object and there's 2 blocks, one sitting directly over the top of the other. Okay, so that's another little handy tip, and that is populated there with regard to how those blocks work. So if I wanted to resolve that, obviously I could select one of these blocks and delete that block, and I'm now, as you can see, back to the correct count there, and I no longer have a duplicate over the top of another existing block. Okay, so I think you'll find some benefit in that little count command, guys. I think you'll find, yeah, especially this little option here for doing a table of maybe all of your trees. For instance, in this instance, so again, if I insert this particular table, I've got a list now of each of those blocks and account quantity, as you can see there. Okay. So yeah, quite a handy option. As you can see, these are all dynamic blocks, so they've been broken down into their individual types. So yeah, I think that's quite a handy little feature that hopefully we can all make use of in our AutoCAD. Okay, so yeah, quite a handy little tool, and I think you'll agree will hopefully make your life a little more productive when you're working with the AutoCAD block count. So I've got another option here, push to Autodesk Docs. Now this is another functionality that for those of you that have been working in the AEC space would be quite familiar with, working with Revit. Obviously, we've got the option there for BIM docs and some of those functions as well. But in the AutoCAD space, we've got the option to push a document out to the docs space. So again, we don't need to save the PDF locally, and so this will actually push a PDF copy up to the AutoCAD docs site. So quite a neat little function, and again, just a slightly quicker workflow than having to save the PDF out, then upload it to the cloud, etc., etc. So yeah, hopefully a useful little tool. Again, and probably one of the final things I really want to talk about again is the customization process and some of those other tools with regard to working with perhaps AutoCAD profiles. There's been some improvements to that as well. Certainly the functionalities of your CUI file and working with that also. Now, one of the other big benefits if you're doing graphics in AutoCAD is that AutoCAD has now started to take advantage of multi-core, which has been a long time coming, but as we probably are aware, writing code for multi-core situations is no mean task. So basically now, a couple of the tools that have been added to the multi-core functionality is for selecting hatch boundaries. So this is one thing that always takes a little bit of time, no matter which computer you're on, no matter how super your computer is, it still seems to, AutoCAD needs to assess the boundaries. So that is now handled by a separate core, and certainly you should see improvements in that time frame of being able to access hatch boundaries in a slightly quicker fashion. So that's quite a handy little option. I think you'll find some benefits there as well with regard to multi-core. The other one that is handled again and that Autodesk have pushed across to another core is the publish command. And I think we're going to see more and more of this happen as time goes on. Certainly getting the software to manage some of those multi-core processes can be a challenge, and being able to do that often will take us some time. But certainly Autodesk are moving that way, and we're seeing some benefits. And like I said, I think in the coming years, you'll see more and more items being pushed off to other cores to make our software more efficient. Okay, so really, yeah, like I said, today, I guess the point was, let's look at the tools that are maybe going to make life more flexible for you. So having an Autodesk and AutoCAD subscription gives you many options for, as you're probably aware, updating software in an automated fashion as well. Now Autodesk are pushing out software updates automatically. Certainly having flexible terms with regard to your Autodesk software is also a benefit. Technical support through the likes of A2K and directly with Autodesk is another bonus, obviously, of that. And certainly being able to manage licenses via the cloud system is the new normal. So this has obviously been done by many software vendors, and Autodesk have been working on applying that across the board in the past 4 or 5 years. So just to summarise, again, we've just got some points here. Basically, the tool sets will certainly save you effort and time. There's certainly a lot of improvements there and functionality that you can utilise within your specific discipline with regard to whether it be mechanical design, electrical design, architectural design. There's a lot of added features available to us. And as we mentioned, some great tools there for updates to web and mobile connected devices. So certainly being able to work through any of those items connected to the cloud, we've got much greater benefit as well. And hopefully those few little tips and tricks that I showed you toward the end there will save you some time with the block count function and some of those other trace tools, etc., etc. So thanks again for your time. I hope you've enjoyed today's presentation. I will stay online for a few minutes if there's any questions. So if anybody has questions, feel free to pop them into the chat window and I'll try to answer them as we go. But again, thanks for your time today. It's been great to be with you and appreciate your attention. I'll, as I said, endeavour to answer any questions that come forward via the Zoom chat as mentioned. So thanks again. So thanks, Tom, for your question there. You've asked if you can open files in a read-only state if it isn't a recent file. Yes, absolutely. Although, I see what you're saying. So when you go and browse for a file that isn't in your recent files, no, I think you would have to actually open it initially. Then you'd see it in your recent files list and have that option. Sorry. So I think, yes, I know what you're saying. I thought you were referring to older version files, but no, I can see what you're saying now. If the file isn't in that recent list, no, you wouldn't be able to do that. You'd have to have that in the recent list, I believe. So you've asked a question there, Leslie. Thanks for that question about when you share, does the version of the AutoCAD file have to be the latest? Good question. I think yes would be the answer to that. Yes, I believe so. Thanks for your question there, Craig, about automatic updates. And this is a challenge with regard to how we do this. Autodesk are obviously going down this route of more connected type designs, but I know many companies are challenged with that. There are ways of pausing that so it doesn't roll out automatically through the desktop app, so we can actually pause those downloads. But so yeah, thanks, Craig, for your question. We can pause the updates through the desktop app, I believe, yes. So thanks for watching today. I don't think there's too many other questions there. With regard to, if you'd like to watch any of our other webinars that we've done on multiple topics and yeah, many other options there with regard to working with many of the other Autodesk products. So we frequently do webinars on all manner of different things. I do the odd webinar on Inventor, and we've got members of our team that do Revit webinars and advanced skill, etc., etc. So all of the Autodesk products are covered in that. So yeah, thanks for watching. We appreciate your time today and look forward to hope everybody stays safe and well.